David Brewster here with a new episode of 3 for All. This is 3 Dickey Betts Licks from 1978, and I've had some requests to feature more music from the Allman Brothers band, and I have featured the Allman Brothers in a Chordplay episode from a few years ago, and also Dickey Betts, too. That was from a couple years ago. And that previous lesson was actually Licks from 1978, and this lesson is Licks from 1978. Same guitarist, same band, technically, same year, but different concert. So if you're a Dickey Betts or Allman Brothers fan, buckle up, because this episode's for you. As far as the band that's featured in this footage, it's not the Allman Brothers, it's actually Dickey's Great Southern Band, alongside Dan Toiler on guitar. And a very interesting group, and I actually saw Dickey Betts and Great Southern 20 years ago at Hookahville. That was over in Ohio, outside of Columbus. But definitely, I remember watching them just rock out on stage, and I was very impressed. Another interesting footnote here, the guitar that Dickey's playing during this footage, actually he gifted to Great Southern, second guitarist Dan Toller, and then eventually Dan, I think, sold it, and then eventually, in recent, I think that was a couple years ago, but actually Joe Bonamassa ended up with that guitar, which that's not really that big of a surprise. It seems like Joe Bonamassa owns every guitar. The licks in this episode actually came from a live TV appearance in 1978 when Dickey Betts and Great Southern were on the show The Midnight Special, and I'd never seen this footage before. And even though the video quality is a little iffy, I mean, it's obviously a copy of a copy of a copy, but the audio is still pretty solid. You can hear everything. It's just I wish the video quality was a little bit better. But the performance just knocked me out. They're playing Southbound, the Allman Brothers standard. And it's Dickey Betts and Great Southern alongside Charlie Daniels, and then also Elvin Bishop too. And Elvin's wearing the overalls and just rocking out right alongside Dickey. Great show. So if you haven't seen that before, you can find it here on YouTube. Even though the video quality is kind of bad, but they were just totally rocking out. All right, the first lick's this aggressive bluesy bending phrase, and it just grabs your attention. Something like this. One more time. So it's pretty basic, but this whole lesson is going to revolve around D minor, and it's kind of playing a lot out of D minor pentatonic right there. And he's grabbing this F note, bending that to G, then return that back to F, pick it again. And then he grabs that D note with some vibrato, and then that D to C. And when you go from that D to C, go back to D and add vibrato again. And then that D back to the F, and then bend it. Like that. And it's that intensity, it's that feel, and he's putting a lot of energy into what he's picking and fretting. And that's the only way you can really make licks and phrases like that pop, is just really dig in, like dig in the trenches there and just, make it just erupt out of your guitar. And if you play that a little lighter, it's going to lose a lot of that impact. Like, you really got to dig in. So I'm picking hard and fretting hard to really make that pop. Alright, the next idea features one of Dickey's signature dizzy finger sequences, and he did this a lot with the Allman Brothers, but it also appears in his solo output too, where he'll take a pentatonic bass sequence and then turn it around rhythmically in interesting ways. This lick's something like this. One more time. Now, you can see he's actually using his index and third finger. You could also use your pinky in there. Don't be afraid to explore, trying your pinky on sequences like that. That's totally up to you. I would recommend both ways, but we'll kind of lock into Dickey's way of playing it. Once again, we're in D minor pentatonic, and the sequence, he's basically starting here. Like, think of Layla right there. But then he starts doing, like, that D, F, D, back to C. And then after that second kind of hammer-on pull-off, that's where he basically moves from C and then rolls over and catches F. There, you're kind of doing a finger roll, right? Like, and then you do that hammer-on pull-off 2 more times, and then do the finger roll again. And then one more hammer-on pull-off, and then end on that D note. So really slow, it's... And it's that finger roll, like when you're kind of rolling over from C to F. That's where it kind of causes that hiccup in rhythm, but it turns the rhythm around to where it's kind of hitting, you know, on the downbeat. And definitely listen to some Allman Brothers and Dickey's music, and you're going to hear sequences like that a lot. Alright, next up's this really interesting double-picked idea, and the band was just cooking during this part, and then Dickey whipped out this lick. And it's the rhythm and the phrasing that he used, but then also the band is just so intense during this part. But something like this. One more time. So we're still in D, or D minor, and he's basically starting with this phrase. So you can basically start on that C note, pull off to A, and then grab G back to that A, and then F to G on the G string. Like that. And then after that F to G hammer-on the G, then do F to F sharp twice hammer-ons. And then D to C to A, right? And when you get down to that A, you're going to go back to C, hammer on to D, and then pick that D again. Right? And then that's where you start double picking. So 2 Ds there after that hammer on. Well, it's 1 D after the hammer on, I guess. And then 2 Fs right there. 2 Gs. 2 As. And then basically do a position shift right there into that C. You can just use your index finger there from that A to C. Grab that D note twice. And then F to G, and then bend that G to A. And you're just single picking the F to G. So really slow. One more time, kind of slow. And a little closer to tempo. And I love phrases like that. It's all phrasing and it's hitting, you know, like the rhythm and everything at the right time. It just feels good. Definitely over the band too. And here's a bonus lick from this footage, and it features one of Dickey's elusive tapped bending phrases. And keep in mind, this concert was in 1978. You know, Van Halen's debut came out in 1978. But Dickey was tapping like this, you know, years before Van Halen hit the scene. And there were other players too. I suspect Dickey might have picked this up from watching Billy Gibbons, because Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top was also experimenting with tapping, and many other players on the scene. But the lick's like this. One more time. So we're still in D, or D minor, and we're doing... So before the tap, that's what he's doing right there. One more time. Now when you bend that G up to A, there's no vibrato yet, but you're going to tap basically this B flat, but with that G note bent up a whole step, that B flat's technically going to sound like a C. Right? Without the bend, you can hear that C note, but with the bend, you need to hit that B flat for it to be C. And you can also hear vibrato after the tap. And then you hear him basically kind of like aggressively pull off from the tap. You hear the bend released, and then there's 2 Fs, kind of like a hook bend there. So really slow. Tempo. There's just something cool about finding those early tap licks like that. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of 3 for All with this look at 3 Dickey Betts Licks from 1978. Definitely, Dickey is a legendary, electric guitarist, blues rock guitarist, a legend for sure. And honestly, I wish I could play like Duane Allman. I haven't really featured a lot of Duane Allman, lessons here on my channel because I can't really play like him. His slide playing is so signature and distinct. You almost have to like set everything else aside in your musical world and just focus on that just to be able to kind of pull it off, authentically. Like look at somebody like Derek Trucks. It's obvious Derek has spent a lot of time practicing those licks and those phrases and that tone and everything. And I've just never really gone there and like put the brakes on everything else and just focused on that. But with Dickey, definitely that intensity, that fire, when he plays, lots of conviction, a lot of feel. And as soon as I, kind of decided like, okay, I can't really do, Duane's thing, that's when I started noticing Dickey's licks and phrases in certain songs, especially Allman Brothers songs, after Duane had passed. Lots of Dickey Betts flying around. And if you haven't heard great Southern albums or Dickey's, solo albums, definitely check those out too, because there's some great music all over those, kind of lost classics. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.